Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan. Today we are breaking down the Seattle Seahawks 3-round mock draft. But before we do that, if you've not already, hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel to get notified whenever new videos come out. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the NFL draft, and we're only a couple hundred away. So any help is greatly appreciated. Also, too, if you'd like to put a couple bucks down on the pony, hit that link down below and go straight to Bet US, where they have a fun promotion going on right now for all first-time players of 125% match for your first 3 deposits. So hit that link down below and take full advantage. And Ryan, let's pull up the free agency slides here so far. So we wanted to include some of the more notable acquisitions and also departures that Seattle has done so far this offseason. And they've been very busy. They have been a lot. They've lost kind of a lot of players in like every single position as well. Starting off, they did trade Sam Howell away. And honestly, it was like they just had to move back a couple of spots, about 20 spots or so, and got Washington's 4th round pick, and they took their 3rd round pick. So one less pick that we'll be going over here today. But essentially, they got it for a quarterback, which I think that's what we would have done anyways. Mm-hmm. They added some key pieces, I think, to the offensive line, especially on the interiors as well, even though they did lose somebody on the interior, Evan Brown going to Arizona. And in general, though, I really do like some of the additions that they made on the defensive side of the ball. Some of the pieces that they moved on from, like a guy like Bobby Wagner, I really respect him, love watching him play, but he is in his mid-30s now. So I think him moving on to Washington, I think it's good to kind of go in there and just get a little bit younger at these positions. What do you think is probably one of the more important decisions the Seahawks made so far this offseason?
I don't know about important, but just all in all, I think they did a good job of just building that middle class of their roster, right? Like they kind of have the stars. They've invested a 1st-round pick in a wide receiver last year with Jackson Smith-Njigba. They already had Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. And then I think just going and getting guys that I think filled their weaknesses, like running back Leonard Williams, getting Jonathan Hankins, Jerome Baker, Tyrell Dodson. They got younger, they got faster. And so hopefully that defense translates. To me, the biggest move, though, was them moving on from Pete Carroll. That, to me, I think is probably the biggest move that they made.
Yeah.
And we'll just kind of have to see how that goes and how that plays out. He still is with the team in an advisory role, so maybe he'll just be kind of pulling some strings from the box now instead of on the field. But we'll see. There's not too many notable losses or additions, I think, for the Seahawks.
Yeah. I think as well, too, with the Sam Howell trade, if there was going to be a guy that they were wanting to go and develop, I think Sam Howell showed a lot of positive things as well. I think he was in an unfortunate situation in Washington. So have him back up behind Geno, or even to still be that backup, well, then Drew Lock can kind of go and pursue maybe potentially be the starter somewhere else. And so let's get into their first pick. And so we did do this pick, I think, before a lot of these acquisitions and departures and signings had happened. So we did end up going with Jackson Powers-Johnson here at center. They did sign Nick Harris, offensive lineman from Cleveland, who, looking at his over the cap as of right now, he did only play 25% of the snaps last season. Now, that being said, though, too, that could be for multiple reasons. I can't remember off the top of my head if he did get injured or not, but it makes it very curious as well. Like, if he's going to come in and he's a starting center, can he also switch over to guard? Is Jackson Powers-Johnson able to switch over to guard? Is this pick even viable? So it brings in those kind of questions as well, like kind of what they would want to do. They made a lot of moves on the on the offseason in general. I still feel like the offensive line is still an area that they need to just keep improving on. And so maybe if they could go with a guy like Troy Fautanu, who can move anywhere else inside, if they feel like Nick Harris is going to be the starter at center. So I'm kind of curious to yourself, because this is a channel we love JPJ. Like, he's risen so much during this off season. But what other routes do you think the Seahawks should go if they feel that center is not the position that they're going to go after right now with 16?
Yeah. So with Nick Harris, he signed a 4-year, $3.6 million deal. So he's making barely over $900,000 a year, which is
he signed it for 4 years.
Yeah, for 4 years. But I mean, okay, it's.
Like, I'll take it. Don't get me wrong. I'll take $3.6 million.
Well,
right
fair, but it's I mean, it's a veteran minimum contract. I'm not super worried about it really affecting this Jackson Powers-Johnson pick here. And if Nick Harris does play well at center, then then great. Jackson Powers-Johnson can play guard, and you have the most affordable starting center in the NFL. So I still really like this pick. I think they need to solidify the interior of this offensive line. They have 2 good tackles already in Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas, but not just for protecting Geno Smith, but also in the run game. They have 2 good running backs there in Kenneth Murray and Zach Charbonnet. And so, like, getting those guys going, I think, could do a whole lot for this offense. Because could you imagine if they have an above-average run game with these wide receivers who then are going to get even more favorable matchups because you have to bring a safety in the box to help stop the run. So getting a guy like that, I think, would be fantastic for this offense as a whole.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. It's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing, because how do they value that center spot right there? But also then too, it seems like it's a very easy guy if Nick Harris is not performing well, and then you still want to go get JPJ. You can move on from him, or you can switch him around a lot. At a minimum, it's just interior depth pieces. So how they value him and how they value this pick, I think, would be great. It's going to be one of the great story lines to watch on the first round NFL draft night. So let's move on now to their next pick. They don't have a second round pick. They use their 78th pick on Sam Howell, which I think is fair, because it was either going to be him or really like Spencer Rattler or Michael Pratt, and I would rather take Sam Howell. And so he's got good NFL experience. And so we did end up going with Jeremiah Trotter here, a linebacker from Clemson. And we did do this, I think, before some of their signings of like Jerome Baker and Tyrell Dodson. But I still think, though, just to go and get good depth overall, I think maybe go on the linebacker position. You could see them going on the edge rusher side as well. This is going to be an area, but there's not as many edge rushers here as there would be in the top end of the class. So
the edge class is very top heavy.
Yeah, very top heavy. And so, but I still like the player here. I can see the fit. What other selections do you think that the Seahawks could end up going down this route?
Yeah, another one that I think would be interesting is Dominic Puny. So he's a tackle from Kansas. However, Kansas runs the triple option, so he's going to be an undersized tackle just due to the nature of how that system works. And so getting a guy like Puny, he's going to probably kick into guard. Just addressing that interior offensive line again, I think is another option. Jamari Thrash is just a good wide receiver, I think, at this point. And then I don't see Spencer Rattler maybe quite as much after that Sam Howell trade. However, maybe going and getting a nickel back at this stage, I think would be good, because they do have Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen, so who are their primary outside corners.
Yeah. So it's going to be unique here with Seattle because they've already they've made so many moves so far this offseason with all the free agency additions and replacement of people who have left. But then using one of their picks to draft Sam Howell again, essentially. So what they end up prioritizing, I think, is going to be fascinating to watch, because they're a team, they're definitely above average, I would say. But it's Mike McDonald and the new regime that's in there kind of put the pieces together to get them over San Francisco, because now they're going to be competing with Los Angeles and who I feel like they're not going to be slowing down anytime soon. They're only going to keep getting better. And then Arizona as well. Arizona, I think, is only going to keep getting better. So it's a possibility Seattle could be the worst team in this division, and they're one of the better teams in the NFC. So it's going to be fascinating to watch to see how they want to try and improve this team.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think all in all, they've put themselves in a pretty solid best player available scenario. So whoever fits their scheme the best, I think, is going to be the one that they go with. So let's go ahead and wrap up this one here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Seattle Seahawks 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And on that, we'll see you guys next time.